Bring back that beat, DJ.
Yes.
We normally say it slow.
Yes.
It ain't chopping screwed today.
All right, welcome to the Fourcast. We back again with another great episode. Monday night, 8:30, this exact time every single week. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and also Roku TV. If you have a Roku TV or device, we are live on there right now. Search BS3 TV. Also, if you don't have a Roku device, we still got you. We think about everybody here. So BS3TVLive.com is the website that you can go to. All the content's on there. So this show, Queen 3 and King, Life Happens, Snowman in the Morning, all of those shows are on there. And also, I want to say this before we get too far into the show. Cole Johnson has been doing an amazing job on these intros and videos. So I just want to give him a quick round of applause for all of his work. Man, he's been putting in.
Beast mode. And he's just getting started. Trust me.
Really. He is fire when it comes to the audio, visual, the voiceover work. He is definitely fire. All right, so tonight's episode is on the Dave Chappelle, not necessarily a special, but somewhat of a speech. But Dave Chappelle's gonna make it funny regardless. And it's called Dave Chappelle, What's in a Name? That's what we'll be discussing tonight. But before we get into that, I want to say rest in peace to Bill Russell, legendary. When we talk about basketball and we talk about on and off the court, Bill Russell was that guy. He did it on the court with 11 championships. Only lost one time too. Like we got to make sure we throw that in there. But also his activism that to really see and help the Black community, but also just to help the world see what we experience. So I definitely want to touch on that. Anybody want to mention any comments on Bill Russell?
Yeah, I think what's significant about Bill Russell for me is that on his social media pages, he lists. Now, this is a guy who's won how many championships? 11?
Yeah, 11.
And he lists social activists first.
Yeah.
On his social media before he starts going into his athletic achievements. Now, I got news for you. I grew up a Lakers fan. Back in the day, I think A-Trap and I talked about it before on some earlier shows. You was either with the Lakers or you was with the Celtics back in the day. It was a two-team league, period. It's just what it was for a while, right? And I was squarely in the corner of Showtime. Yeah. Right, so I didn't like nothing got to do with the Celtics. I didn't even like hardwood floors for a while. They parquet floors in the garden. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't even like going to gardens. I didn't like going to Boston Market. I didn't like celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I didn't like nothing having to do with the Celtics. I didn't even wear green for a long time. I didn't celebrate St. Patrick's Day or nothing. I didn't go to Diamond Shamrock to fill up with gas. I ain't do none of that.
That man said Diamond Shamrock.
So I did not like Bill Russell because he was a Celtic. But at the end of the day, you got to give him respect and the reverence that the rest of the league treated him with. And I'm talking about your Kobe Bryants and your Mike Jordans and your those folks. They dealt with him with reverence, man. And to me, it is a microcosm of an example of what we are really lacking as a community is people like that, right? That is just it's across the board that every single individual sees them and treats them with the same sort of reverence. And if they speak, if they say this is what it is, then that's what it is. We respect them enough to go that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Rap.
what is the fifth Beatle texting you that you're getting tickled about? That's what I want to know. Because I know that grin. And that grin, whenever I've had that grin, generally that grin is followed by a how can I say this? A hard-on. So I know it had to be the fifth Beatle. Wilkes, it's your turn. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's probably a panty dropper.
Hey, it's official. I hate him.
I love it. Which let me interpret that for the viewers. That means he loves me in a way that you just can't love a brother.
My man. You know what, man? I'm with Doc, man. You was either on one side or the other, and ironically, what I'm about to say don't have nothing to do with. Well, actually, it does have something to do with Bill Russell. When you, and what people don't understand about Chicago, and I hate to always take it to Chicago because I don't want y'all to think I'm just Chicago man.
Is. Hey, and if you let me just interrupt you real quickly about that because I was thinking about that and I'm glad you went there. Chicago in its significance, man, over the last year and a half, I will sleep on it. Man, do you know how often Chicago has been coming up in major stories, whether it be, deaths of famous people or whatever? Man, shit, you ain't got to apologize for that, man. It is what it is.
Right.
People think of Chicago like you guys. When y'all think of sports in Chicago, y'all think Bears and Cubs, right?
Well, I think Bulls. I think Michael Jordan.
But of course, obviously Jordan, but yeah.
But like most people think Bears, Cubs, but Chicago is really a basketball town. And
I can see
basketball. I'm from the West Side. I was raised at age 6. We left the West Side, and but I always, my family was over here where I am currently, and ironically, it was this thing like when you hoop, like West Side and South Side basketball is where all the people that y'all know are from.
Yeah,
Isaiah Moore, Terry Cummings, Tim Hardaway, Nick Anderson, whoever it is, Derrick Rose. You from the South or the West Side? It's like a blood sport. It's like, I was telling Keisha, basketball to the West and South Side is like guns to Texas.
Or football.
High school football. But still, you're right. You're right in there. You're right in there, though.
Yeah,
right.
In the pocket.
So I remember being a kid, and like Doc said, you was rolling with the Lakers because they had all the brothers.
Yeah.
But it was like, and then everybody was, as a youngster, when me and Doc were coming of age, we probably wasn't astute enough to realize that Larry Bird was that good. We was thinking, oh, that's just white boy media hype, right?
Yeah.
But something I noticed, what I noticed is when you out hooping and everything, if it was a fast break. Now Magic Johnson is a god at this point. When me and Doc, when I'm 11 and Doc 10. Magic Johnson is a legitimate god. If you could throw a pool on the ground, Magic Johnson might walk across. But tripped me out was when you on a fast break out west, you passing it around like Magic, and guess what we were yelling out?
Showtime. We were yelling out Showtime, man.
And it never made sense to me. Like, why are we hollering out Boston and we trying to act like Magic Johnson? And Isaiah Thomas, my personal favorite player in the world, one day he explained it. He was like, man, we had so much reverence for Bill Russell, and they invented the fast break. So when you're on the west side of Chicago, you hollering Boston because they had Sam Jones, they had Casey Jones, they had Bill Russell, they had John Thompson, they had a homeboy from Phil Ford. Wasn't that his name? I know being a big time
Phil Ford. Yep.
They had Phil Ford. So they had a whole white team on the court. I mean, a black team on the court before anybody had all black ball players. And another thing is Muhammad Ali, another one of my heroes. And I didn't learn this until after I was an adult, that when you dealing with when Muhammad Ali did that thing in 1967, so I ain't going to the war. contrary to popular belief, Jim Brown went there to talk him to go to the war. And Bill Russell talked them out of it.
Really?
Yeah. Jim Brown was on the Patriots side. And Bill Russell was like, look, I'm here to listen. Right. And whatever your move is, I'm going to do it. And third and most important is Kenny Smith, a story that I heard Kenny Smith tell literally a month ago. For the first time in my life, I heard Kenny Smith tell this story. And he said, when Bill Russell was the general manager of the Sacramento Kings, Bill told him, look, don't you sit in the back. The back is for busters. Those dudes, I'm cutting all of them. So you sit up here with me. And he said he was scouting a European player. And it opened my eyes to this story. He said, hey, man, you mean to tell me y'all can't find nobody in Alabama, nobody in New York, nobody in L.A., Chicago, that y'all can get? And he said Bill Russell told him this. And this is, I already respected him because I read his book years ago. Bill Russell told him, when you come from a discriminated portion of the population, you have no room to discriminate against anybody else.
Wow.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And fourth and last, I want to say, Doc mentioned Bill Russell on social media. To me, Bill Russell does social media the way every professional athlete or entertainer should do. I'm on here to have conversations with y'all, not about me. Whatever we talking about that.
Right.
And it would be people that misstep and make wrong statements, and he would jump in, make a correction, fall back. That's how me and Olden Polynice became friends, because me and Olden started just talking. And salute to Bill Russell. He's gonna be he the last of a dying breed, and he is literally a blueprint of humanity.
Yeah, great interview with Olden Polynice a couple of weeks ago, or last week, by the way.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That's his second time on my show.
Yeah, good dude.
Yeah. I know you had him on there in the past.
Yeah.
All right, Wilkes.
Yeah, every time I saw Bill Russell, it was usually in a teaching moment, really. I mean, even when they talked about whether it was basketball or whether it was a documentary about civil rights movement, I mean, they would go to Bill Russell. You know,
they got to thank Alfred.
So it's one of those things where, to me, he, you know, I mean, basketball legend, of course, obviously cornerstone, you know, but outside of the court, I mean, he was definitely busy. And what, to Doc's point earlier, I feel like he knew he had a stage to perform and also represent a community of people that he knew was looking up to him, you know, whether it, you know, be from Boston or Chicago or LA to Watts, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, it was one of those things where, just like with Arthur Ashe, you know, he realized that, man, you know, this is bigger than sports right now. This is bigger than me, you know. And Nina Simone with her music, you know, it was bigger than her, but she had it in her music and outside of her music. And Angela Davis, I mean, it's just, you know, when you have a stage to present yourself as a leading figure, you know, why not establish it now? And which we're going to kind of touch on that in this Dave Chappelle speech, if you will. You know, it's like, you know, what's in a name? You know, it's like names can mean things. They can weigh heavy. They can weigh light. You know, they can carry weight or they don't carry weight. So it's just one of those things. Like, you know, they always talk about at the funeral, that dash in between the life you lived and you died. It's like, what happened in between that dash, you know, is what's significant. So yeah, no, man, Bill Russell, definitely remember him in all the commercials and TV shows and documentaries. So yeah, no, I was surprised to see that, of course, but definitely a big figure. Definitely.
Yeah, and I know my time done went, but let me just say this for the folks the viewers, okay. we spending this time. Fortunately, this Dave Chappelle's acceptance speech was less than an hour, so it won't take much for us to dissect that. Okay.
Yeah.
But Bill Russell and Nichelle Nichols, who we're going to talk about in a second as well, these figures are too big not to give some time to.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And let me just say this. Okay. As far as Bill Russell is concerned, a lot of people don't understand. He was about to be drafted by St. Louis. I can't remember what their team name was at the time, but it was a team in St. Louis.
Hawks.
Okay, that's right. Okay, and he was telling them don't do that because he thought St. Louis was a racist town. So he didn't want to be in St. Louis. He was, much to his chagrin, he was surprised at the reception he got in Boston in terms of the racism, right? And when this cat was go on the road, it's like almost every time he came back from on the road playing games, his house has been vandalized and broke into, and there's one incident to where they actually went into him and his wife's bedroom, pulled back the covers, and defecated on him, man. And they didn't discover that piece of it until the police had already left, looking at all the other stuff. So what that cat went through was the backlash he received in Boston is very underreported, let's just say, right? As a result of the backlash they got in Boston, and I hate that A-Trap is gone on this because I want to know if he knows this, but based on the backlash that they received in Boston, Red Auerbach, the general manager of the Boston Celtics back from the early 50s to the mid 80s, I think, that dude intentionally started drafting white players. Period. That's why Boston was a white team. Boston was considered the white team back in the day, right? So you're talking about the Kevin McHale, Danny Ainges, Havlicek, Bob Cousy, Dave Cowens, Bill Walton. That wasn't no accident. He went there because of the backlash that the Boston community gave him about Bill Russell, even though he was winning like he was winning. So that's why he went where he went. And then there's also one misnomer about Bill Russell because he never signed autographs. But the people think he didn't sign autographs because he was trying to be that dude. It wasn't the case at all. He said, I didn't sign them because they were so impersonal. He said, I would rather somebody come up and let's have a conversation for a few minutes. Let's have a conversation for a few minutes, not sign an autograph. And that was a misunderstood deal that people didn't understand. That's why he chose not to sign autographs, because he'd rather just sit down and let's have a conversation for a few seconds.
You were saying something about you wish I could hear you. I
was talking about the backlash that Boston got because gave Red Auerbach and the Celtics because they drafted him, and he experienced all this racism, was coming back home to vandalisms and things of that nature, and it caused Red Auerbach to start drafting white players. That was an intentional thing. It wasn't just when we were kids, we thought they were doing it, but we had no proof and no reasoning why. Well, today or in the last couple of days, I got the reasoning why, and it's because of the backlash that they got from Bill Russell, from the Boston community. Right. So again, that's why Danny Ainges and Havliceks and McHale's and Dave Cowens and Bill Waltons and Bob Cousy's, that's why, and Larry Birds, that's why they exist. It was an intentional, I'm going white.
Yeah, and one of the things that you're talking about is a game in Kentucky. It really started with that game in Kentucky. That game in Kentucky was a situation to where, as you get discriminate, you're in the segregated South, and they come up from Boston, and they got all these brothers. And Casey Jones went to get some food in the lobby of the hotel. Of course, we're in Kentucky. You're gonna have to get in the back, homeboy. You got to go to the back. You can't get no food here. And Casey went back and told his man Bill, because they come from Louisiana together. They come from the Dons together. So they've been friends a long time. So Bill gathered up all the brothers, and they said, we ain't playing in Kentucky. And that's what kicked it off. That's what kicked off all that reign of terror, that Boston, who's historically segregated. You're talking about throwing bricks at school children and things of that nature. As I heard you mention before I had hit the reset button, defecating in his bedroom, and to show you how tough Bill Russell was, man, how he was no nonsense. Bill Russell he made the Boston Celtics do a private retiring of his number in the Boston Garden. He didn't publicly get his number retired until this century.
Wow.
He retired and they retired his number. He said, I don't want to do it in front of these people because they're not worthy of me.
Wow.
And there was another story that came up where he was talking to a reporter, and I think he was telling the reporter, we're not friends. And so the reporter kind of was taken aback, but he was like, we're not friends because to be friends, you got to be able to get to know each other. You got to be able to conversate with each other. So a lot of people said he was deep at a different level. And I think it was Cedric Maxwell that was saying that, this world didn't know what to do with him. I mean, it was like he was just at a different level. And I think when we get in this conversation of who's the greatest, we got to look at all the eras. And Bill Russell is definitely, arguably, you could say the greatest of all time. To win 11 championships, people say, oh, well, they were playing against plumbers and construction workers and all that. That's the running joke.
Yeah,
but they all played to a. It still was the best of the best. It's not like they didn't have dudes that was homeless and just said, okay, you want to play basketball. So I mean, like we gotta stop disrespecting, these guys and what they did to pave the way for what the NBA is today. And they put up his numbers. I'll say this too. They put up his numbers next to Will Chamberlain. Will Chamberlain was, I think, 2 for 4 when it came to championships. And I didn't know Bill Russell was 11-1. I thought he was 11-0, but he was 11-1. And coming from San Francisco, I didn't really know that much about the Dons, and I'm sure it wasn't a lot of players that came after him.
Only one, Bill Cartwright.
There you go. Go ahead, A-Sharp.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Cedric Maxwell, Cornbread Maxwell, he always said that people didn't know what to do with him, but Bill Russell was intentionally an intentional intimidator. He wanted people to understand that I'm Bill Russell and get up out of my way. Even down to the way he dressed. He wore a fedora, a black fedora, and he wore his a sport coat. Bill Russell wore a cape. Imagine a 6'10" black man walking towards you in the 60s in a cape.
Yeah, right. And he was like that too in his older age. Anytime he was on anything NBA related, the All-Star game or whatever, he looked business. I thought he was maybe angry, but I think he was just business.
That's old school black man right there, man.
It was one of those looks where it's like, look, I ain't come to play. I ain't come for the bullshit. We're gonna have this interview, and I'm gonna have this Colt 45, and that's it.
And I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, I'm done.
So don't say that to me sideways.
Yeah, man. I mean, the dude was all he's.
I wore my Royal Crown grease at.
Man. But I don't even understand. I understand like people always doing this Mount Rushmore, and they rush to put Michael Jordan and all these dudes on there. If your Mount Rushmore don't have Bill Russell on it, you tripping. You are truly tripping. And I understand, like you said, you can see, when I used to talk sports all the time, people used to get disappointed in me because I didn't look at stats, and I still don't to this day. I look at impact on the game. Like people, I remember when Dennis Rodman was coming up for the Hall of Fame. I was like, Dennis Rodman, the first ballot Hall of Fame. And they was like, oh man, he ain't averaged no points. I was like, Dennis Rodman is the only dude I ever seen that only dude I ever seen. Man, only dude I ever seen that could control a basketball game without the ball in his hand.
And we know what happened when they went up against Salt Lake. He was in his head. Postman, Karl Malone. Oh man,
he got in everybody. It didn't matter who you was. You was gonna be off your game that night because he would either.
I mean, Draymond Green
Man, nothing. He wasn't above nothing, and that's why, like, even though he don't show up when it counts, that's why when people diss James Harden for his antics, I'm like, that was called gamesmanship when I grew up.
Right. And I have to say, when I see Draymond Green, I mean, I know now they kind of like all soft about it. But I'm like, dude, that's textbook.
Yeah.
Hey,
your job is
Kurt
to
Rambis,
the best player on the other side.
Kurt Rambis, Kevin McHale, they pissing y'all.
And
Bill Laimbeer.
Man,
you know, that's what they did.
Beer? Oh, God.
They were so in your head that they pissing the fans off at home.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll say this, Lambeer was like when they interviewed him for the Bad Boys thing, he was like, I was just some lanky kid. I wasn't that good. But when he formed that enforcer role, which is pretty much what he was, it completely changed the game. And when they were talking about Bill Russell's defensive play, and they were like, he was the first one to become because they didn't count. I don't think they counted blocks or rebounds.
They didn't. The first time he blocked a shot in the game, the coach got mad at him and said, "What the hell are you doing? Stay on the floor." He told him to stay on the floor and quit jumping.
Right.
Unfortunately, Bill Russell looked at him like, "You're crazy. I'm stopping the.
And then
that was actually in the documentary I had watched. They were like, "You leaving the floor? It better be a layup."
He the only dude that used to block shots to his teammates. He didn't just knock the ball into the stand. He tipped the ball to one of his teammates and kicked the fast break off.
That's how the fast break. I'm gonna try to find this picture at some point in time while we on. But he blocked a shot. He jumped over his teammate,
back,
and blocked a shot from somebody else. I'm like, that was a menace after the ball. You know, you talk about in football a ball hawk. That's what he was in basketball. Let me give a couple shout outs. We got the fifth Beetle in the building. We already got her comments up there.
Yeah, she texted and commented.
All right.
My man, Sean Clinton, aka Information Man, dropping gems, man, every single week. If you do not tune in on Sundays is one of the best days of the week, man, because we got church services, we have Knucklehead Chronicles, we got Information Man, and then we have What's on E Digger's Mind, which is another great show as well. Blue Streak Freak right here. You can't see who she is, but it's Facebook user. You just got to make sure click that link for us, please. I remember every player y'all have mentioned except Bill Russell. I didn't know all these wonderful things about Bill Russell. Y'all keep it chill tonight. And that's the thing.
Real quick.
Oh, good.
A shout out to Bun B for having the best burgers in the United States.
I seen Trill
Burgers.
Yeah, I seen that. I
was like, man, you got the Trill Burgers going on? I must be using that crack season.
Yeah, some of those Girl Scout cookie seasoning.
Hey man, Bun B, he an amazing brother, man.
He doing it, man.
Yeah.
That's a brother who is.
I mean, you got E40 with his cooking line. You got Master P with his products, and Trick Daddy with a cooking show on YouTube. I mean, they doing it.
Yep, they doing it. But rest in peace to a great one, Bill Russell. Yep. And the next, which I'm gonna kind of lean on you guys, but Nichelle Nichols.
That's right.
Passed away. I did not know a lot about her. I had to look some stuff up. I know she was Star Trek was one of her big things, but Doc, if you want to touch on
that. One of the number one, Star Trek, and at the time to have a black actress on such a major show was so impactful that she was actually, after year one, was going to leave Star Trek. And I can't remember what engagement they were at, but they were at some engagement, and somebody came to her and said, "Hey, you got a big fan here, and they want to meet you." And she was like, "Okay, that's fine." So they brought the fan back, and it happened to be Dr. King. And so her and Dr. King got to talking and whatnot, and he goes, "Hey, I'm a big fan of yours. I watched the show. I love what you're doing on the show, et cetera, et cetera." She goes, "It's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm actually going to be leaving the show." And he was the one who actually talked her out of it and said, "Absolutely not. You can't do that. There are too many people that look up to you. It's too major that you're on that show, and you're an inspiration to an entire people. So you got to stay on that show." And so fortunately, she stayed on the show, and she is one half of the first. I can't remember which kiss this was, but she is one half of one of the first significant kiss. A-Trap, you may know. I don't know if it was.
It was Shatner, the captain. She kissed the
Oh, no,
captain.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. William Shatner. And if you know, if you see William Shatner picture, you're gonna know how big that cat is, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she, you know, she was one of the first crushes, you know, that little, little 4 or 5 year old Ivan had, you know. You know, she may be responsible for the first hard wee. I don't know, but I just know. But you know. And then you spell your name Nichelle Nichols. See, Nichelle. See, you already saying you sexy when you say your name Nichelle with an N. You know, you already bringing something.
Who called this house after 10 o'clock?
But you know, but she was super significant. So, you know, like I said, she's a legend in her own right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely,
absolutely.
Hey, Trevor.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, when you from Chicago, you know Nichelle because she's from the same town that Dwayne Wade grew up in. Dwayne from the South Side, but his mother split, and they moved to a southwest suburb. It's just right outside Chicago. You trip and fall, you in Robbins, and you stunt, and you put your shoe back on, you be back in Chicago. But and
that's where Chicago came up again. Remember, I told you it's been coming up a lot lately. That's the latest place that came up is Nichelle's when they were talking about her today.
So yeah, you know, she was a big, like Doc said, she was a big deal, man. She was on Jet, she was in Ebony, she was all over the place, man. And that's when, you know, like I don't know what y'all a little younger, but that's back. See, when you on the cover Ebony and Jet, and later on Essence,
right?
Yeah, that was back when you couldn't walk in nobody black on Earth house, and without seeing Ebony, Jet
on the coffee table.
Yeah. Even I mean, it didn't matter. Even the broke black folks, everybody got
it. Your rent could be late.
It may have a different name and address.
Black barbershop, black houses, it's
out of date, up to date.
Yeah,
you might have stolen from the job house, but you got it on the table.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might be homeless, man. You might walk around with it in your back, in that little string. But yeah, she was to get down. Like Dog said, man, she's one of the first black women. Her and Diane Carroll were the first two black women that I knew of that people were calling fine.
Yeah,
everybody else was they was lying. Oh, you know, it was three of them. Christy Love, I can't remember her real name. She played the role Christy Love, and Christy Love, Diane Carroll, and Nichelle Nichols. Yeah, man, everybody else, they was lying about the sisters back then, but they couldn't deny those three. And Nichelle, you know, yeah, you only see her in very few movies, and you only see her on Star Trek. But hey, that lady was a certified, you know, black goddess type thing.
Teresa Graves is who you're talking about on
Teresa Graves.
Yeah.
And if y'all don't know who she is, if you ever watch Good Times when Florida and James went to the cabin, and that lady bent over in the fire, and James was like, "Oh, yes."
Well, they're timeless beauties. You know, she was around now. If she was 25 now, she was 35 now, she'd be fine today in 2022.
Yeah. So it was
timeless beauty.
You know, they denied Thelma, they would deny Walona, they denied a bunch of black women. Oh, how could I forget about Pam? They denied them, but Pam, Christy Love, and Diane Carroll, there was no denying them.
Yeah.
And the good thing is they all different people. You know, Christy was from New York, Denise from here right outside Chicago. Pam Gribb she was country. She was country. I'm talking about cowboy hat, cowboy boots, riding horse country, dating Richard Pryor. And you know, so it was just no denying these ladies. And it's good to, you know, it's sad to see they gone. You know, everybody got a transition, but you know, got to give them their flowers now. Maybe we need to do a show about the beautiful women of cinema.
Yeah,
maybe. Oh, absolutely.
I'm down. Shout out to DJ Knox. Thank you for tuning in. Frontground Records in the building. You can check out his shows on Built for This Network weekdays. Make sure to follow them on Spreaker or find them on all podcast platforms. All right, so tonight we're getting into this Dave Chappelle what's in a name? That alone we could talk about, because what's in a name, name on a building, your own name, your family name. There's a lot of different ways we can go that. But I wanted to read the comment, the first thing that came up, and this is a quote by Duke Ellington. Art is dangerous. It is one of the attractions. When it ceases to be dangerous, you don't want it. Which I thought was a powerful way to intro this. And now kind of getting to our initial thoughts, when I seen it was like 39 minutes, I'm like, what? I was even more intrigued, because there hasn't been a Dave Chappelle anything that's been 39 minutes, unless he was like on doing a set with some other comedians. So I was initially intrigued, and it was this Netflix deal that he has. He's been dropping something every year, sometimes even twice to 3 times a year. So my initial thoughts was definitely excitement. I figured it was going to be another comic and comedic masterpiece. But Wilkes, what was kind of your initial thoughts with when you seen this come up?
Yeah, of course. Immediately when I saw it pop up at that time, I had to click on it immediately, because as we said, after the closer, he was kind of done with stand up right away. So he was doing a lot of presenting and small shorts, and he was popping up here and there. But when I saw this, I was kind of like, oh, okay, Duke Ellington, I'll check it out. He's at the speech of Duke Ellington, and I just was not expecting the speech. I didn't think it was going to be like stand-up comedy. So I was intrigued about what it was going to entail to. But no, I think it's a very powerful speech, and if you can say that, I think it's a lot to unpack. If you, as Doc does sometimes, you can dissect it in a spiritual sense. It carries weight. I think a name, like I mentioned earlier, I think a name can carry a significance. Some names can be hollow and carry no significance. I think it's one of those things, and I'm going to kind of brush against this, and I mentioned this before with you guys. A name can also have control. What is control? Why do we have it? Who gave it to us? But that name can command so much, and it's like when you see a name, it's immediately one of those things you connected to. Man, just like Bill Russell, just like Nichelle Nichols. It's just one of those things where, it's one of those, you see that name and it's like, wow, you know what came with that, or what is a legacy, or what's tied to that, and also to like the tragedies that may be tied to it. But in itself, the presentation, the speech itself, I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. And I would compare it to a commencement speech. It's kind of what it had the vibe of. It was like, hey, I'm not doing a stand up, but I'm not just talking either. I'm dropping some game. I'm telling some stories. So I definitely felt it.
And real quick, just a tiny piece, real quick. It's almost like find your own path, because my way is not your way. Don't follow in my shoes. Use it as a blueprint if you need to, but craft your own beginning, craft your own trailblazing. So that's how I saw it.
Right. Hey, Trump.
Well, I would call it what he mentioned in the speech, a monologue.
Yeah.
Because this kind of, the reason I watched this is because I don't know if y'all noticed, the name that I have on my birth certificate, name on my birth certificate and the name on my IDs not the same. I found out later in life that my name was a typo, and my birth name is William Brian Harper. And one day my nephew Philip said, "Grandma, why you call everybody by their first name, but you call Uncle B by his middle name?" And she was like, and all nonchalant, my mom was like, "Because that wasn't supposed to be his name." I was like, "What?" Like, I was hopped up on them drugs, made a mistake. I thought it said last name first name, mother's name. And that's how I got my name. Her and my dad agreed upon the name that I have now. And not that and for whatever, and it just like you said, what is in the name? For years, I hated the name William. Show you how much I hated the name William. My mother thought I was dyslexic at one point because me and Dog came up when you had to write your name in them books all the time.
Right.
Right.
You had that. Yeah.
Okay. And I used to, and I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I would write my name out, and I would hold it up to the mirror, and the L's would go this way. So I would erase the L's and write them backward. So when I hold them up to the mirror, they would be right. And my mother thought I was dyslexic because I was okay, Mom, done. I got 15 Williams, L's backward. And she's like, what's going on? And then she watched me do it. And she said, no, don't worry, don't hold it up to the mirror anymore. So it was, I even went as far as, let me show you how important a name is. I remember my 6th birthday. It was raining as usual. It usually rains on my birthday for that reason. And I hung out with my grandfather, my cousin Mike and Vince. And on the way home, I said, Granddad, what's your name? And he said, Granddad. I was like, no. My first name is William. Yeah. What's your first name? And he was like, George. So I get in the house. I said, hey, Mom, can you change your name? And she was like, yeah, you can change your name, whatever you want. Why? I said, I want my grandfather's name. Now, to a 6-year-old, that does not what it means to an adult. My mother thought I wanted my name to be what it is now, Williams. Man, my mother called her mother and everybody she could. She was bragging on me until she finally calmed down and was like, what made you want to change your name to Williams? I was like, Williams? I don't want my name to be Williams. I want my name to be George. I don't want my name to be different from your name. I just don't want this William anymore. I'm like, hey, Curious George Harper, So, but when I got old enough, like my college degree says, Brian Williams. Before I let my passport lapse, it said Brian Williams. So, names are important.
I don't know if you remember being one night at Men's Fellowship. This was in an old building. We were talking about names, and you know how we would pass the microphone around or whatever. And I'm gonna get the microphone quite frequently.
Oh yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be some silly shit, even clowning on pastor or whatever, right? And so we were talking about names, and Chico was there with me, which was, pretty standard practice. That's my son, Junior, Ivan Jr., right? So I had a set of twin boys, which are older, and I couldn't name any of them Junior, because they twins, right? I didn't feel right about that. So my third son, I named him Ivan Jr. So he was there one night, and I think Chico was having some issues, some confidence issues and whatnot. And I stood up and I talked to him about what a name meant, and I told him, I said, you were giving this name intentionally. I said, and with this name, son, and I just went down to what it meant. Your first name is Ivan, which means leader, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when I say the brothers in there, the impact it made on them and the feedback I got from them, for the rest of that weekend, at church activities and stuff like that was powerful. Because, we don't. In fact, now, my granddaughter, she had a problem. She was like, one day, she's darker skinned than one of my granddaughters. And my daughter called me in Indianapolis and she goes, hey, Shiana's having a problem. She's, mad that she's a little darker skinned and, and don't, and just having some confidence issues or whatnot. And so I just immediately, now I named her and, which I've named a couple of my grandkids and kids, that's been a thing for me. Right. So I immediately pulled up the meaning of her name. And when I say I sent her everything that her name meant, which just happened to be just so powerful, right. And I'm like, no matter what happens in life, this is who you are, right. And changed her entire disposition, So what's in a name? It's super important. And I think too often our community is interested in naming people based on what sounds good.
Yeah.
Right. What looks good on a piece of paper as opposed to what it means, because guess what? You're going to be called that name, you know, and so unknowingly, if you don't pay attention to that name, you could be calling them something that's against their destiny. You could be calling them something that's against their purpose. So you got to be careful and make sure you name somebody something important, you know, something powerful, something meaningful, something impactful, not only to their lives, but the lives of others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so true. That's so true. I do remember that too. And, you know, speaking of names, that was going into Ari, and some people don't know the story, but I mean, she was born at 25 weeks. Like the percentage of chance that babies make it is not very high. Now, obviously, technology has changed and things like that, but I mean that to not know what that experience was like, and the name that we gave her, which means Lion of God, and brave, and she was a fighter. I mean, from the very first time she came out, she was a fighter, and that name truly is her. So names do have meaning. So when you name your kid something.
David's name was going to be Mbutu, but they changed it at the last minute today.
Real smooth.
But think about it. That's another thing Black folks used to do. We'll pick a name out the Bible on your ass in a minute, boy.
Real quick.
I just about to say that my aunt Arvis, she swore by that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
She swore by that.
I mean, growing up, I felt like that was all I really heard as a child growing up. Like somebody, and of course, immediately it was like, man, that name's in the Bible. You know, that's what, because it was just kind of one of those things.
Yeah, that's where we went. There wasn't no baby name books here. This was
the
Bible.
Yeah.
What's up, Zeke?
Right.
we got Big Illinois in the building. Thank you for tuning in. We got
he put
CJ.
His government. He really off that paper.
He on the Facebook.
He off that paper all the way. Shit, he can put his real name, his government on there, and his own picture and everything. I see you, Anthony Lansdowne. Yeah, got your ankle monitor off and everything, and you can put your real picture up.
And we got CJ in the building. Well, we switched back to StreamYard, everybody. So click the link or go to StreamYard.com/Facebook so we can see who you are, because they're switching back to the different platform. And CJ did, breaking news, he did win his fight.
Did he actually fight though?
He didn't actually fight though. The dude backed out. But he is 5-0. 5-0 is 5-0 is 5-0.
5-0 is 5-0, baby.
Hey, I guess that guy saw how he was training and said, "Okay, F it, I ain't showing up."
He must have seen them tapes. He was them clips he was up on. Theodore, gift from God. I was named after my great granddad Theodore and great aunt Theodora. Blue Streak is a name give by the Fourcast guys.
Hey, don't that's mine.
That's Queen Damn King.
Hey, that's King Dog gave you that. Don't share that with nobody. I gave you that name, and then say it right. Blue Streak Freak is what it is.
Waving it proudly.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Matter of fact, there was something on Facebook the other day about how many Black females got names with their daddies in it. Like I got an aunt that's named Freddie because her dad's name was Fred. You know, so hey, it's some Black dudes that'll try to fit that shit in, boy. You know, I ain't got no son, but let me try to fit this name in.
Right.
My kids are Brian and Bria.
Yeah. Yeah, I dated a Willie one time. Yeah, her name was Willie. I knew we wasn't gonna get married here because I can't be with no Willie the rest of my damn life.
She must have been older than you too. Yeah,
she was with the name Willie. Younger.
I went to high school with a Willie,
but she was from the country though.
Erica's grandmother's first.
Yeah, when I told my mom and them that's what her name was, mama. But quit lying, boy. Yeah, that girl ain't no Willie. I said, yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. You don't believe it.
So Theodora, we had a question that popped up from a unanimous viewer. Where'd you get the nickname Bo? Who gave you that name? Pop the question to you. She says thanks. All right, so I wanted to get to this comment by Damon Wayans. I don't know if you guys read or heard the comment, but before I do that,
no, I didn't.
Before I do that,
I'm worried.
Check out this quick promo of one of our great shows on BS3.
Of course, Steph Curry, Tim Anderson, Jordan Alvarez, and it's caught. Debo Samuel with the catch. Michael Jordan consents. The throw just got the king.
BS3 Network, the hottest of hot takes, the coldest of cold hard facts. This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Weekdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Cole talking about check your local listings like we're in the TV guide or some shit. Hey,
hey, speak it.
I love it.
That's some of the greatness of Cole Johnson. We got a couple other I'm gonna play tonight too. But Damon Wayans said they're filming everything he do right now and putting it out as specials. He said the thing is, you got to ask yourself as an artist, is it special? Or are they taking advantage of me because I'm special? And that was from Damon Wayans. And I wanted to, A-Trap, I wanted to go to you first because I did kind of mention this last week. I misquoted and you kind of corrected in what he was saying. But give me your take and thoughts on that.
Well, actually, it was it was presented as if Damon was saying something negative, and he was really just saying protect yourself from the vultures of the world. But, the world we live in, they was like, they hot take the Ebro in the morning. He said it on Ebro in the morning. And he said it to them. And I think he just wanted, because what they didn't say is they talked about how he said he was the comic of this generation. Everybody needs to be like him. And he just wanted Dave to protect himself. And I don't have no problem with that.
That's how Bo came about. Funny story. My niece and nephews. My nephew, he couldn't say Trey, or he just started calling me Uncle Bobo. So now they all call me Uncle Bobo. So it's kind of a similar thing. You just whatever you end up being called.
Like a Bobo. Hey, that's why
whatever you end up being called, I'll give you my name for the rest.
So let me just get on this Damon Wayans thing. Think about this. And I don't know what his intent was, but let me just say this. Out of all comedians you need to tell to protect yourself, Dave Chappelle is the last motherfucker you need to tell to protect yourself. That cat, and he done went through the fire to learn this. You understand what I'm saying? Shit, see, a lot of folks think it was an accident. Right. That he turned that money down, right? And of course that's the narrative that they put out there that he was crazy, right? Mm-hmm. But as he said in this special, this What's in the Name special, that was a calculated move. He said he knew something in him told him this ain't what you need to do, right? Right. So it has always been about the art for him. That is what he said. It ain't about the money. And what he's doing right now, I think the fact that he can put an acceptance speech out there as a special says all I need to know, because I guess what I'm tuned in for. Right. I don't care if this joker. I don't care if he having a parent-teacher meeting with his kids. Shit, film it. Hell, I'm in, because the dude's gonna have some profound shit to say.
Yeah. But you know what, man? I get it, because like we don't like, me and you. We talked about it. We don't like Kevin Hart, but even the people who like Kevin Hart, they're kind of sick of Kevin Hart right now. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to just keep being seen. And I think that's why Dave sat down.
But okay, yeah, dig it. But I think like right now, because of what Dave has to say, I think part of the reason why people are sick of Kevin Hart is because Kevin Hart is still on that, he's buffoonery, right? He's not saying anything impactful. When you have something impactful to say, people are going to hunger for that. And I think no matter whether Dave Chappelle is on a true comedy special or giving an acceptance speech, I think the dude is so profound in what he has to say, man, and it's so deep. And guess what? People, think about this for a second. I want y'all to take on this. The dude is bold enough to talk about, we got an Emmy nomination for that too. And the closer is still the most such and such.
Right.
And you can try to, if you got a problem, other comedians with what I had to say, film a special and outdo me. Right. You can't, and a lot of people may take that as being arrogant, but I got news for you. There's not a bone in my body that thinks when he's saying that, he's saying it in an arrogant way whatsoever.
Right.
It's facts.
Yeah, no.
No lie. And I think too, when you sign these type of deals, we don't know exactly how many specials, what type of deal he signed with Netflix. We don't know that.
Right.
But I will say, Adam Sandler also got a deal.
Thank you.
And Adam Sandler been putting out stuff
trash up until Hustle. I think Hustle is the first thing he put out that's not considered trash.
And I say that to say whatever Dave Chappelle puts out is quality to it. And like Doc said, it don't matter what it is. But I think the flip side to Damon Wayans is point. I think there may be some slight jealousy in there, just because Damon Wayans was on kind of that trajectory, didn't necessarily get there. And obviously we got to hear the whole interview to really be able to get the whole context of what he was saying. Mm-hmm. But I think too, that could be partly of what he's saying. But and again, to me, it goes back to the point, like, do we have to say this on wax? Do we got to say this in the interview? Or could you just come to Dave Chappelle and say, hey, let me put this bug in your ear real quick. You can do whatever you want to do with it. That's the other side of it too. Kind of the Bill Russell way.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this. If you haven't seen, have y'all seen the interview Inside the Actor Studio with Dave Chappelle? Mm-hmm.
I have not.
If you have not seen the interview they did with Dave Chappelle on Inside the Actor Studio. Now, I can't remember this guy's name who did those interviews, Inside the Actor Studio. Huh?
He passed.
Yeah. That guy, he's an icon in terms of his interviewing, right? He's, Barbara Walters, everybody thinks about her and the big interviews she's gotten. Well, Inside the Actor Studio, this cat's got some big time interviews, right? And in my estimation, his interviews were always more meaningful than what a Barbara Walters would do. So he has one with Dave Chappelle, and I think this was right as he was starting to come back from that hiatus. And when I say, if you hadn't watched that, YouTube Inside the Actor Studio with Dave Chappelle, that interview. And when I say from that point forward, it changed everything I thought about Dave Chappelle. And I've held him in high esteem ever since.
Let me read this.
I'm sorry. To defend Damon, it was not in any malice. It was not coming from a place of malice. It was a big brother talking to a younger brother. It was truly that. And Doc, if you get a chance, watch Big Boy's Neighborhood with Donnell Rollins, and he goes over the day before Dave made his decision. He said Dave was literally at the table saying, "Is $50 million worth this?" And he said he just looked at him like, "What?" The next day he quit.
Yeah, because he said, like on this special, he said, because they were taking away his creativity. They were taking away his voice. He was going to have to do it the way they said do it. And he said, I did the first season for $300,000, which sounds like a lot of money to y'all, but it wasn't. I did it, but I did it and said, because I want to keep creative control. Like I got to do it my way,
Yeah.
Let me read this comment about CJ. On a side note, I know it's totally off the record or off the script, but Wayne and his family definitely needs more attention. They really get. They are jewels in the Black community. Needs to be appreciated more. I agree. All of them. Keenan, Damon,
Sean, Marlon,
both. I mean, like the
sister.
work. exactly the work that they've put out. We still got one-liners from that. We still got memories from that. So definitely they put in work, and I think they definitely need to be recognized more. He says, I don't feel like Damon was hating at all. He definitely has his own wave, especially with him and his family paved for Black television. I agree. And I think that's probably Theodore said, I agree. Let me give a shout out real quick to Chris Bass. Thank you for tuning in. He gave us a thumbs up on Facebook. He's on Snowman in the Morning every Friday. And his last name is Bass, because this dude's got like a baritone voice, like for real. And you can check him out. He's on every Friday on Snowman in the Morning. Any other comments?
What we're gonna have to review one week is the Richard Pryor. You know that little variety show he had, A-Trap? A lot of folks
5 episodes, Jack.
Huh?
5 episodes.
A lot of folks don't know a lot of folks don't know he had a variety show.
I didn't know that.
And so
the Chappelle show.
Yeah, what made me think about it is CJ's comment about the Wayans paving the way for Black television. And no hate, CJ, but I'm laughing when you say that because there's so many. But again, I got to consider his age, right?
Yeah.
And I promise you, even if you ask the Wayans family who paved the way, they're going to go back to Flip Wilson and Richard Pryor and some of these other cats, right, that paved the way for them, Again, it's just they didn't get a lot of pub, but when I say Richard Pryor was Dave Chappelle's show before Dave Chappelle, because he was doing some crazy shit on TV, we gotta review that as one of our throwbacks. And I think those 5 episodes, especially because of what it is, we can get those done pretty quick if we can find a place to get them all.
I know YouTube. They on YouTube.
Okay.
Oh, really? Yeah, we definitely got it. I've been wanting to do something Richard Pryor movie.
And what we got to do is the roast after the show.
Oh, that there.
I've seen
a lot of people think he wasn't telling jokes either. He was like
he was going in.
Yeah,
he was going for the throat.
Yeah, some stuff.
That right there, that roast lets you know that they were actual friends.
Right,
they were a crew, because he said some things that people held over Robin Williams' head, and people still talk about Paul Mooney to this day. He called Paul Mooney Miss Thang.
That's right.
And he said Robin Williams be stealing my jokes.
Right. Yeah, man.
The roast, those roasts, man.
Yeah, that's widely regarded as the greatest roast commentary of all time. Yep.
Yeah. He going for the throat.
Yeah, he wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, so as I was watching this, I was just thinking, like, Dave is one of the funniest storytellers. I mean, storytelling at its finest. I didn't, and I talked about this, I think, last week. I love hearing people's story, and in fact, telling them how he got to the Duke Ellington School, talking about the story of how he did his monologue,
his parents, man, the way they supported him, man, is such a dope story. It's not even funny.
Oh, right, yeah, within itself.
That may be the most. I mean, that part of the story to me was just like, wow. How many parents would have said, "Boy, sit down somewhere,"
right.
But they helping him. He talking about, we went to the Yellow Pages to find a comedy club. You need to go here,
right?
And then we got to find the acting school. Okay, well, let's go get an appointment.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
You talk about that level of support, which I thought was amazing, and to be able to tell a story. It's one thing to be able to tell a story, but it's another thing to be able to add ad libs in there. I'm sure he was probably, changing the story some to make it more comical. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah. He's saying something that's meaningful, impactful. He's drawing you in, because I'm like, I'm on every word. I'm hanging on every word.
Yeah.
And he's got enough sense to be able to still put some humor with it. And the term that I come up with is balance, And I put on there, I said he's one of the best storytellers of his generation and maybe of all time. I think it's moving, it's emotional. If you listen to this cat, man, he's transcendent, man. I just, there's not enough words that I can use to describe, what I think of Dave Chappelle, truly.
Yeah. And he even got a little emotional too. I mean,
rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Well, on that being, I'm gonna say something that you'll most definitely agree with. When y'all talking about the storytelling ability, I got one word for you: Nas.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nas is definitely one of those that could tell a story. You bobbing your head to it, and you're like, man, I gotta rewind that.
He can see the
just to hear what he was saying.
Or you can see the neighborhood that he's speaking about, or that time. You know, it's like you're on that corner, or you driving down that block. You know, it's just one of those great storyteller.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle storytelling is out of this world for real. I mean, he could read a children's book. It would be funny. Pastor Dodd in the building. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your support, sir.
Well, before we get out,
great comedian.
Before we get off this storytelling situation, I need to give some lyrics, a line or two to one of the greatest stories ever told. And he goes, listen closely. My bitch is a 10, my jet in the wind, I fought just to win. And that is the great storyteller, Roddy Ricch, in the Boom Boom Room. And let me say this, I was smoking a fat one and drinking some brown drink when I heard that. And he goes, my bitch is a 10, my jet is in the wind, and I fought just to win. I'm like, he's telling my story.
You don't know my story. Shout out to the intellect. Thank you for tuning in. 1/3
Mr. Butler. That's Eric Butler with the soon to come perspective show on BS3. And when that comes, I'm telling you, that dude right there, the intellect, Eric Butler, when I say he's gonna bring some heat, hey, I promise you. And we paired him with some funny, and we paired him with some clinical. Look here.
Yeah,
it's gonna be dope.
Gold. He's divinely thought-provoking. You walk away different after he found in and shares a perspective.
That's that divinely thought-provoking. That sentence right there, that description right there, that descriptor right there. That's it.
That's not the Roddy Ricch. That's not the Roddy Ricch.
What you thinking about?
Yes, it is.
The same one?
Yeah,
Roddy
that's
Ricch
Roddy Ricch. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something else.
No, when I say my bitch is a 10, my jet in the wind, and I fought just to win, that's Roddy Ricch, Boom Boom Room, baby. That's my shit. Yes, sir.
He got it out the box.
Also, man, Slick Rick. Man, that one song, Children's Story, man.
Yeah.
That, you could play that 50 years from now. People are like, wow, what's that?
The average person don't even know that's about police brutality.
The children's story?
Children's story?
That's about police brutality.
I did not put that.
Because we were just jamming to it. Because Soul Train was on it like it wasn't no damn police brutality. So.
Police brutality, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad he kind of touched on the closer, and he touched on, he wouldn't have been true to himself if he would have signed that, that deal. And I mean that goes kind of again to parallel to Richard Pryor. It was only on, how many seasons was it on for? It was on for what?
5 episodes.
They said I have 5 episodes.
No, well, I'm talking about Dave Chappelle.
Chappelle. 3.
Okay,
2 with him. 1 with
was it 3? I thought he had, I guess it was 3. I thought he had 4, but I guess it was.
They might have stretched it. They might have stretched it before, but it was so much gold in that, man. It was so many gems in that.
Oh, man.
Wow. You want to talk about storytelling? Let me just say this, and I really say this for A-Trap more than anything. And when it comes to storytelling, I'm just gonna say this: the broken glass everywhere. People pissing on the strap, they just don't care. Hey, that's a story. You tell me he didn't paint a picture with that, and you felt like you was there.
The Furious 5, Melly Mel. Hey, he a cool brother, man. I hung out with him one night, man.
Oh, really?
He's a cool guy, man. Funny. The night that we used to be at this nightclub on Monday nights called the Elbow Room. It was a hip hop spot, and everybody who was somebody was in there. And one night, Melly Mel come in. I'm like, is that Mel? Because I didn't know the chump was 5'5". You know, I'm like, is that Mel? And then he come over. What's up, homie? He get the kicking it, and then they coerce him into getting on stage. And he said, you know, I don't remember. He was freestyling. It was dope too, but he had told me, he's like, man, brother, I got to hurry up and get up out of here. I done had this this suit on for 2 days. He went on stage and freestyle. He said, I hope this song don't go too long because it's been 3 days. And every day I've been in Chicago 3 days, and every day I had this suit on. It's like, oh man, come on, back and kicked it. Mel is cool, man. But he is the original hip hop hater too, though.
Hip hop hater.
Hey, you ever heard this song called Poetry KRS-One? And he go, say something now. Thought so. He's talking to Mel.
Oh, so he's saying he doesn't like what came after him.
Yeah, he don't like none of that. He is the original hip hop hater. He is hateration, holleration in this damn. Wow. But if you ain't rhyming, he cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Chief Rock in the building. Thank you for tuning in. He almost got everybody's name right, except for one. he was close.
It's okay. It's only been a year. It's okay. It's all right.
What's that, Turner?
It's all good.
Man, you got that song playing in my head. Just don't care. Woo!
Yeah. That's one of them.
Telling stories, man.
Yeah, gosh. And that's what rap. That's what hip hop is.
You want to talk about quotables? How many black folks have you heard say, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge"?
Don't push me.
Trying not to lose.
Right.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It make me wonder how I keep from going.
Exactly.
Every black folks that said that.
Man,
we couldn't remember our motherfucking English words and shit.
I won't remember. I'm gonna say
how many black kids that got a whooping after saying that? Oh, you can't get these damn sight words in school. You can't get this in memorization, but you know all these lyrics.
It's no E. It's no E, Chief. But you get it. He said, I say it all the time. What was I gonna say? And in that era of rap, they always saying, huh.
Yeah.
Well, see, I think that was a form of like martial arts, but in a hip hop sound.
Yeah,
it was always that
exclamation point.
Yeah.
Punching it to the man.
Like, I heard this comedian the other day you talk about Michael Jackson, and they say with him doing all this, they said I think he was doing karate while he was singing. And when I say I laid on the floor, man, I thought that was the latest shit out of that.
I'm gonna say something after the show about that. I don't want to merch, my man.
I can see that, man. Because you can see Michael. He probably actually kicking in there.
Probably. That's why he was doing that high kick before he did the moonwalk. So probably so.
Y'all gonna love that joke. Remind me after in the post game fist fight. That Michael Jackson joke. I can't say it live.
Studio, Mike.
See, they said y'all should do a top 5 rapper list.
Nah.
Oh gosh. Oh.
That'd be too hard. I don't know.
I don't have one, man.
That'd be too hard.
How? I don't.
He said not that.
Wow.
Steve coming in. Appreciate that. All right. I wanted to get to this point where he talked about the Netflix deal when he was on the SNL set trying to figure out if he wanted to sign this deal. Like, is this a good deal? Is this a good deal or not?
You better not be fucking me.
You better be messing with me. I mean, I thought that was amazing, man.
Yeah.
And the dude's been gone, and you got this type of contract, and you about to go on SNL stage, and it was like it was a time crunch. And imagine if that was a bad deal. We wouldn't be talking about this right now.
And just think about this, the fact that he said Lauren Michael of Saturday Night Live to get him said the exact same shit to him that he said to Richard Pryor to get him to host, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, that's some cool shit there, you know.
Yeah. I thought that was a.
I mean, even in this picture behind Ben, you know, as we keep saying Richard Pryor, I mean, this guy has transcended And I just feel like Dave Chappelle is his Richard Pryor. Like when he puts on a suit and he stands up there with the mic, I mean, I feel like he is in his Richard Pryor moment. Like he is transcending that. Like
cigarette.
I don't know. I just kind of feel like, and he knows it. Like he knows that he's walking in that same lineage. You know, it's kind of like what Doc was saying. You know, it's not that I'm being arrogant, but trust me, if you know how much hard work and trials and tribulation and my testimony goes into the closer, I dare my peers, any one of them, to make something equal
to make it equivalent. Yeah, he called it a masterpiece.
Call him out.
Yeah,
and he called himself a once in a lifetime talent, man. I'm like, he ain't.
This is the Sistine Chapel, baby. This is it.
Know your worth. Know your worth. Know what value you bring, because, and then he kind of talked about how that was art,
right?
And that goes back to the original comment, that original quote by Duke Ellington. But that was art. That wasn't and I mean, I think at this point we're past that he's transphobic or that he's he doesn't like certain people. I think
is because remember he just got kicked out of a stadium 2 weeks ago. He got kicked out of a hall 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
they gonna hammer that home. I mean,
we should be past it. Let me say that.
Yeah, because you know, basically, I mean, that's what America's about. America's about suppressing greatness, especially when it doesn't go along with the narrative that they've created. Right. I mean, Richard Pryor, Richard Pryor helped Mel Brooks write Blazing Saddles, but the studio wouldn't allow him to be in the movie.
Yeah,
I mean, Paul Mooney and Richard Pryor co-wrote a lot of those jokes, but Paul Mooney couldn't break through. I mean, he is controversial, but Corey Holcomb can't get out of the. Corey Holcomb ain't gonna miss no meals. You know, he getting work every week. He probably making
too much truth,
but he tells too much truth.
He do.
So you know, and as he was stating, he has displayed several times that he has no issue with anyone on earth, but y'all want to continue to, like you said. You want to tell the story without the nuances to it. Right. And then when you do that, what you do is put yourself in a trick. You put the world in the trick bag and you cheat the world.
Yeah.
And America's cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah. The statement he made, he says, the more you say I can't say something, the more urgent it is for me to say it. And it has nothing to do with what you're saying I can't say. It has everything to do with my right, my freedom of artistic expression. That is valuable to me. That is not separate from me. It's worth protecting for me, and it's worth protecting for everyone who endeavors in our noble profession. And anyone who sees it differently is an instrument of oppression. And when he said that, I'm like, ooh, that is so stinky, man.
Because once
it ain't
again,
even funny.
Because once again, like I said, you are attacking my peace. You are attacking my creation. You're attacking my God-given talent, and I will not allow you to oppress or silence that. Just like Nina Simone. Like, I'm not going to allow you to silence me. Angela Davis, I'm just not going to allow you to silence me. Like,
go tell Elton John he can't use G sharp. Go tell Vincent Van Gogh he can't use the color red. Go tell it's no different.
Right.
You're taking away part of my ability to express my art.
Marvin Gaye let What's Going On sit on the shelf for 3 years and wouldn't record nothing else until Barry put it out.
Exactly. And didn't want it. And What's Going On album didn't want it released because it was during a time of tension in the Vietnam War. But Marvin Gaye say no.
Okay, I ain't doing nothing else to you.
See, as a result, that's why I'm telling you right now, Dave Chappelle is not backing down. I'm telling you, I got they keep coming with whatever they coming with. Dave Chappelle is not backing down. And if Netflix happens to buckle, you know, because they're going through some financial issues and stuff like that right now. If they happen to buckle where Dave Chappelle is concerned, then it's going to be another platform or
real quick.
It's going to be independent or whatever. He ain't going nowhere.
HBO going to be
Apple, HBO, Showtime.
I promise you.
He's a hot commodity. He's a hot commodity right now.
Yeah. And it's all speaking the truth.
Once again, what's in the name? They know better.
Yeah. And the fact, that this is called What's in the Name. I'm thinking all along that it's going to be called the Dave Chappelle Theater. And he actually, and the way he did it at the end was so smooth, man. The way he did it at the end was
classy.
Right.
It was classy.
That's why I feel like it brought everything full circle.
It did.
It brought everything.
So it's called the Theater for Artistic Freedom and Expression. And then he said, when y'all feel like it,
right,
you can just put my name on the top.
Right. Which will be Dave Chappelle's Theater for Artistic Freedom and Expression. So I thought it was perfect, man. He took himself out of it. Yeah. And that shows right now when you got a cat, man, that is not about self-promotion, and he is not about self-promotion. He is about artistic promotion. Period. And he may be, matter of fact, that may be what makes him the greatest comedian of all time is how much he sees it as an art form and not just a means of economic growth and to make money and to, whatever, to gain popularity. He actually sees it as artistic expression. Right. What is he trying to say?
Hey, but you know what's funny? It just shows you, like I was just talking about how people try to, like, you use the term tool of oppression, and what people don't know is in 1976, the LGBTQ community tried to use Richard Pryor, and he fired off on them. And I'm talking about he was using all the F words and this
everything. I'm sure
sucking, and it wasn't. And what he did had nothing to do with comedy.
Was that before or after JoJo Dancer?
That was before. That was before. No. He was always on them drugs. But but man, if you get a chance, go to YouTube and Google Richard Pryor in San Francisco. This had nothing to do with comedy. He was like, "You F words are not gonna use me to promote nothing." Right. And he went and this was black dude that realized y'all trying to pimp me.
Yeah.
And now not gonna align me with what y'all doing. And I'm gonna do, and then he came out and dropped that Nigga Crazy album, and then it was over. It was no denying. So yeah, this is just another example of you can try to stop somebody that's this is why I was so disappointed in the sister Monique. Richard and Dave over the last 50 years have shown you if you're a comedian, you can't be stopped. Corey Holcomb shows you every week. I'm going to say the F word. I'm going to say anything I want because, as Corey consistently says, the streets got me. And it comes down to what Dave explained in his monologue. I went back to comedy clubs, and I started making a little bit of money. And before I knew it, I had the tour of the year.
Right.
Are you willing to take the money and shut up? Or are you willing to take less money and say exactly what you want to say, when you want to say it, and how you want to say it?
Right.
And it's funny. I'm sorry, Wilkes. One more thing.
No,
it's funny how look what Boosie Badass and Dave Chappelle in the world, according to mainstream outlets, they're homophobic. But every time I turn around, I'm on Twitter with Boosie. I'm on Twitter, I'm seeing Boosie on all the other places, and I see gay people supporting them. He mentions gay people supporting them. Dave mentioned gay people supporting them. So who really has the problem?
Right.
Y'all want to make these dudes be quiet because y'all can't control them. Boosie don't need one song on the radio. He gonna die rich. Dave don't.
I don't remember the last time he had a song on the radio.
I don't ever remember the chump on the radio, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's a product of today's time. You don't have to have an album in the store no more. Obviously, you got Apple Music. You don't have to have a hit song out. If you're an influencer, and influencing can be whatever way the influence is going. But if you're influencing somebody, that's it. There's no need to drop an album on Friday. You could drop an album on Wednesday night.
You know what? Is that new? Or is that the way it used to be? Think about it, man. We used to call it the chitlin circuit. Because you could be James Brown.
Yeah.
Wasn't mainstream. The OJs, as much as we love them, were not mainstream.
Yeah. That's
you
true.
know, the Shy Lights, the Spinners. Those people are not mainstream, but you know,
bet you by golly, wow.
Exactly.
Right.
Is that new? Is that new or but
that's true. I mean, because I would say probably when Soul Train was around, they weren't large, but they were up and coming at that time. Like it was a catapult into, man, if I'm on Soul Train, man, I know I done made it. I'm finna blow up after this.
Yep.
And then if you go to outside of our community and play Lost and Turned Out, people be like, what's this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they even said on what is it, Unsung, that the pimps and the players used to come to all their shows.
Right.
So
yeah, we did.
All right, Lakeside.
Yeah, crossover. That's what it is. You know, and that's the thing that makes me. That's the thing that trips me out, man. Because we always use this terminology. Expand our audience. Do you really want to expand your audience? Because the more you expand, hey, you know, I hate to be this crass, but I bet you if you dig up Michael Jackson and ask him, would you go back to 1978 and just keep dealing with Quincy and keep looking like Mike? No, because that's expanding your audience. You know, Prince stayed Prince, and he may not be as rich as Michael Jackson.
That's okay.
Well, who knows though?
Yeah, who knows?
Oh shit.
Jay-Z expanded his audience and kept it funky.
Rocking his Basquiat look.
But Nas is rich as a dog.
Right.
And did it his way.
Yeah. That's true.
All right,
All
come
right.
on.
Let's get to these final. Yeah, let's get to these final thoughts. Dave Chappelle, what's in a name? Final thoughts and rating, and we're gonna kick it to Doc first.
God dang it! I was hoping you didn't go to me first. I think Dave Chappelle is a genius, you know. And like I said, I don't care what he's doing. He can be reading the directions off the back of an aspirin bottle, and I want to hear it. But for this particular special or whatever, I'm going to have to give it 4 stars. You know, it's not, or 4 mics. It's not a masterpiece or anything like that, but he said some pretty dope things. And when he got so personal, he got moved by, you know, he was speaking at a commencement, I believe, and some of the students at the Duke Ellington School for the Arts were kind of giving him a hard time about the closer situation. And he goes, what hurt me is because the words they were using, he goes, and I knew those weren't their words. I had heard them before, you know. So he's basically talking about the sheepish nature of our society, you know, right? You know, we're so dumb as sheep that we don't know what to think. So we do what we're told to think. We react based on what we're told to think. Hey, you shouldn't like this. And you listen to these catchphrases and these key words, and you repeat those key words so you can sound intelligent, you can sound woke, you can sound whatever, when the truth of the matter is you're a sheep and you're just following what you're told.
Good point. Wilkes?
I'm pretty much kind of right there with Doc. I mean, I was thinking earlier today and right now, even four mics. And for me, once again, it's full circle about just being creative, just being you. I'm taken back to Miles Davis, the Bitches Brew album. That was an album that.
Did you say the Bitches Brew or the Witches Brew?
No, the Bitches Brew. You heard me.
What's she cooking up here?
26-minute long songs.
Wow.
Only 3 songs on the album, actually. There's like they're all like 26 minutes.
But you need to get high. Got you.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm taken back to Miles Davis and that album because there were jazz artists like, I can't think of his name right now, but there were so many people at that moment, Sonny Rollins and these guys at that time, Freddie Hubbard, and and maybe I don't think really Monk had much to say about it, but the Bitches Brew was at a time where Miles Davis was transitioning in jazz. He moved away from that quartet style music. And he was going more into what they call like scat jazz. It was all over the place. It was just like, abstract art, somebody slinging paints at a white canvas. Some people even said the notes didn't even make sense, but that's what he did. And that album, Bitches Brew, like it catapulted him more than in his previous career. So once again, for me, it was just like create what you can create while you still have the breath that you are given, because it's yours personally. It's direct. It's given to you only. Like we spoke about last week, your testimony is your testimony. Nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can reshape it. You can't lend it to somebody to borrow. It's definitely, it can be a blueprint, but they can't use it. It's going to always be significant and tailored to you. So I think it was really significant. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 marks.
Yeah, this stripper that I met one time, she went by the name of Midnight Slush. She had a tattoo on that said one of one. And you don't know how deep that is. She basically is trying to tell them we're one of a kind. I'm one of one. There is no other like me. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that or don't realize that, because if they did, they would be able to tap into a power that only they possess.
The way this nigga just turned that around. Boy,
see what I'm
There's
doing.
A lot of slushes in the world.
The comedy is just to get their attention, to get them to get their guards down. Then I hit them with the depth, with the wisdom, But her name was Midnight Slush.
All right, A-Trap.
Bill is Monk. You talk about what Monk said. Monk said art is when you real jazz is when you just blow and whatever notes come out, you cannot play a note wrong.
Yeah. Oh, Thelonious Monk was one of the biggest. You playing notes. He's like, as a matter of fact, I want to say I heard somewhere he said it doesn't need to make sense.
It just needs to sound good.
It just sounds good.
When you said that, I knew that's who you was talking about.
Yeah.
I give it like 3.5, 4 mics. I don't know what I give it. I didn't even, to be honest with you, I didn't even think about it because I watched it about a month ago and I watched it again. Yeah. And
I don't know it was out for that long.
Yeah, it's been about a month. It's been about a month, maybe longer, 2, maybe.
And it's just one of those situations to whereas to use dark words, we run around here with these sheep, and I posted this quote recently. The sheep spend their entire lives worried about the wolf, only to be eaten by the shepherd.
Right.
That's what's up, man.
Wow.
That's what's up.
Yeah, wow. Man.
And see, I'm gonna put another word with this. Matter of fact, it reminds me of this other stripper I met. Her name was Summer Rain, but she spelled rain R-E-I-G-N, right? And she once told me that the words control and oppression are the same, but we're so focused on when people control us, we will buck at that control, but we don't realize how many instruments of oppression are really being applied to us in our lives that we just give up.
Hey, that control is
that word.
Is the conversation that will be coming up very soon.
Summer Rain was her name, and I probably put her through.
Thank you, Carl Thomas. Thank you, Carl Thomas.
I give it 4, and I mean, I'm gonna give it 3.5 because I think 4 is a little high for this. I think 4 and 5 should be groundbreaking, and this wasn't groundbreaking. It was just dope.
Yeah. And I'm gonna agree with you, H.O. I was on the line at 3.5 or 4, but as I was watching it, I was not thinking about a rating because this was kind of like a
masterclass.
Yeah. It wasn't like it needed to have one, but I'm gonna say 3.5 because I think 4 is that upper echelon. But this was dope. Just the way he did it from the beginning to the end. The opening quote by Ellington. Going all the way to the end, and how I thought all along it was going to be called Dave Chappelle's theater, and the way that he said, no, I'm going to do it this way, to do it the selfless way. And also I wanted to point out, if y'all remember when he used to do those, I don't know what they call it, concert in a park or something that he did. And he had all of these artists there, and I don't know if he was the headliner or he just did it just because I think he just did it just to have artists that he liked.
Yeah, was in Iowa or somewhere like that, right?
Yeah, it was at Ohio. Yeah, back at his house where his ranch.
Yeah, that's at his house.
Yeah. So I mean, the guy is selfless. I think the guy has a better understanding than people give him credit for too.
Yeah, and for him, see, one of the things he's comfortable with being, you'll remember this. Remember when we were in choir, in the church choir, we would always hear, stay in the pocket.
Yeah,
stay in the pocket.
Oh yeah.
Stay in the pocket, right? For some of the musicians or whatnot, and even some of the lead singers, they try to go out there, right? And you lose it because you're not staying in the pocket. And then take your time with it. And how often we would see this signal, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Slow it down a little bit. And that's what Dave Chappelle is great at. Taking his time with what he's doing, right? His art, he's not in a rush. He's letting it marinate. He's letting it bellow through. He's letting it, and we still miss the significance of some of what this cat is saying.
Yeah. And real quick before we throw it to H-Rap and wrap up, I just want to say shout out to the Lucille Ball estate because of Nichelle Nichols being on Star Trek. Star Trek really wasn't as popular in the 60s, but when the show went off, the Desi Arnaz Lucille Ball studio picked up the reruns. So if it were not for them, we would not have reruns. We would not have Uhura. We would not have her in syndication. So shout out to the estate for that one, because that was a pretty big move on them to pick up something like Star Trek when it wasn't as popular when it was on, but in syndication, it gained a lot of traction after that.
Yeah.
And another thing real quick, I'm going to share this and I'm going to get off my stage here. My mom found a tape of my grandmother recording one of her Sunday school lessons in the backyard, and it was coming from Proverbs. And she made a comment, and I didn't realize this, but she was saying that Solomon was seeking wisdom at any cost or any means necessary.
Right. Yeah.
Above all. Yeah.
Above anything. That was the main, so looking at what's in the name and watching this Dave Chappelle and having my mom bring me that cassette, which I've digitally removed and I put it on the computer. I'm trying to remaster it right now. But she also made a comment about the well of your heart and what comes out through the bucket of your mouth. What those buckets obtain and what they carry from the well of your heart, is what you speak and what you really kind of resurface. So shout out to my moms for that and my grandmother and the Lucille Ball estate. That was really it.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah. And I agree too with this comment. This was a need to know session. That was by Theodore. Yeah, this was I kind of, this was a speech, a commencement speech / get to know me session. Let me allow you to tell you.
It was an acceptance speech,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So we great episode tonight. I do have that image that I wanted to pull up, which is still dope. Like, come on, man.
Come on, man.
He's literally jumping over his own teammate. Like, nah, I got this. And dude was like, oh no.
Wow.
Oh, who's that?
What's block it?
Yeah, that's to the head.
Get that shit out of here.
All right, so
no.
Coming up next week, as we mentioned, Kevin Hart, the man from Toronto, we'll be reviewing next week. I don't know how
Can't
good,
wait.
bad, or ugly it is.
Man, Woody Harrelson's been on fire.
I'm
man.
more excited about
story.
seeing Woody Harrelson than
Woody
I am
Harrelson's
Kevin
been
Hart.
on fire, man. That's been on fire.
Now that true story, Kevin Hart came out of his bag on that one. That was not funny at all. It was like dry humor. So we'll see, but we will definitely roast it if need be. You know how we do. All right. So what's coming up tomorrow on what's coming up tomorrow on In the Bench?
Keeling, North Carolina.
Oh boy.
And talk about the happenings in Keeling, North Carolina, how we need to react. Keeling, North Carolina could be ground zero for retribution for righteous people, no matter what culture you're from. It could literally be the Pettus Bridge for righteousness in 2022.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna talk about the church tomorrow. I'm gonna talk about Kimberell, man. And I believe she's a tool of the man, not purposely, but it's just amazing how people like that get a whole lot of publicity,
right?
And how the church is a pawn at this point.
Yeah.
The church is a pawn, and I do believe that the people who run the world, the wicked people that run the world, are running people away from the church by giving Kim Burrell that much airtime. Because how many times we didn't heard Flavor Flav say something stupid? We didn't heard this dude say something stupid,
right?
And they never got this much airtime. But if, again, to use the terminology, ground zero, church used to be ground zero for righteousness in this country. Whether it be John Brown, whether it be Nat Turner, whether it be Dr. King.
I'll be John Brown. Well, I wonder why folks used to say that. You didn't heard old folks say, I'll be John Brown.
Yeah. I don't get your John Brown hand pod kicked.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to talk about Will Smith and his apology. And I'm going to talk about is it needed? I mean, I've been saying this one thing for at least 15 years. The next time I wake up and don't make a mistake will be the first time I wake up and don't make a mistake.
Yeah.
Right on.
And I'm gonna talk about Will Smith, and I might add one or two things. And I'm gonna go over this piece of Dr. King. Basically, this is the speech. I'm a split screen, and you know how usually I just run the video. I'm not gonna add anything to tomorrow. So usually I just run the video, and I'll probably go get something to drink or something like that, and be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But tomorrow I'm gonna do like a split screen, and I'm gonna hit pause, and I'm gonna talk about what he said. I'm only gonna do this is historically known as the speech that got Dr. King killed.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the people who've told this, you know what? This is an exoneration of me tomorrow. Because for years I've been known as a dude who's angry. I've been known as a dude who's racist. I've been, man, you just don't like white people. And I've actually had the whole name H-Rap comes from a dude who was angry and didn't like white people. But I am going to exonerate myself without doing it purposely. But I am going to just play the video, hit pause, talk about it, play the video, hit pause, talk about it. And that's how I'm going to close the show out tomorrow, because I'm going to introduce people to a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that you don't know.
Yep. I know. I think I know what speech you're talking about too.
Mm-hmm. And when he says what he says, be like, 2 fingers, 1 word, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And all right. He was officially out after that.
Yeah, he was definitely out after that. All right, what's coming up tomorrow on Queen 3 and King?
Tomorrow on Queen 3 and King, Love and War. And we have a special guest on tomorrow's show. and that is the First Lady of BS3 Network, Mrs. Erica Sutterth, who will be coming out with her own show soon called Life Coaching 360. So again, love and war. We want to discuss, is all fair in love and war? Are we not bound by the rules of fair play? Are we allowed to be deceitful to fulfill our objective whenever we're dealing with love and war? And why are these two terms linked any damn way? We're going to discuss all this and more, and I have no doubt whatsoever that there's going to be some nuggets dropped tomorrow that you don't want to miss on tomorrow's episode of Queen, 3, and King. And I think as a special surprise, I'm going to contact Midnight Slush, and I'm going to contact Summer Rain to see if they might want to pop in.
See if they're available?
Yeah.
They may have to pop in when they're on the...
Give you some of the rainy slush.
They like, but Tuesday nights generally is dollar night, so they like wearing a neon on Tuesday, so we'll see.
Yes. $1 big holla.
$1 holla.
Tomorrow's gonna be dope with End of the Bench and Queen, 3, and King. Life Coaching 360 will debut Friday at 7:30 Central right here on all of the BS3 Network platforms, and we will kick it to you. K-Rap, close us out.
Man, as usual, thank y'all for tuning in, and salute to Reggie O'Shea and Craig Smith by saying dream those dreams and man up and woman up and live those dreams, because life without dreams flows in black and white. Life with dreams flows in technicolor, surround sound. And y'all already know, man, it's a recession going on, people losing their job, food shortage. So if I owe you something, I ain't got it. And if you need it, get it from God.
Or Jehovah.
Or Slushy.
Or Simone. What you need to know. Peace.
Sybil Wilkes with What You Need to Know. Today is Monday, August 1st, 2022. Already. Number 1, basketball great Bill Russell has died, a trailblazer on and off the court. Mr. Russell not only won 11 championships for the Boston Celtics, he also made history as the first black coach in any major U.S. sport. Basketball's first black superstar used his sky-high presence in the fight for civil rights. He marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., supported Muhammad Ali's fight against the military draft, and was awarded the Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama in 2011. And the NBA Finals Most Valuable Player Award named after Bill Russell. Number 2, actress Nichelle Nichols, best known for her role as communication specialist Lieutenant Uhura in the original Star Trek television series, died this weekend. The star of the 1960 show broke down barriers for black women on primetime television and in science. Madam Nichols often talked about the lightning bolt conversation with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that changed her life. When she announced she was not returning for Star Trek's second season, Dr. King told her, "You've changed the face of television forever, and therefore you've changed the minds of people." One of those she influenced, Dr. Mae Jemison, was the first black woman to travel into space. Nichelle Nichols was 89 years old. Number 3, President Joe Biden tested positive for COVID-19 again Saturday, slightly more than 3 days after he was cleared to exit coronavirus isolation. White House physician Dr. Kevin O'Connor said in a letter, the president has experienced no reemergence of symptoms and continues to feel quite well. In accordance with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines, President Biden will re-enter isolation for at least another 5 days. Number 4, the entire police department in Kenly, North Carolina, including longtime police chief Josh Gibson, 5 officers, and 2 town clerks, resigned 2 months after Justine Jones, a black woman, began her new role as that city manager. All 8 resignation letters cited similar reasons, including a hostile work environment. Since the entire Kenly Police Department is white, local resident Brittany Hinnon said she feels they don't want a black woman basically managing them or telling them what to do. Number 5, Democrats in Washington had big and high ambitions this year to boost child care subsidies nationally as a part of the broad domestic spending bill. Those plans stalled because of a lack of bipartisan support. However, some states moved ahead with plans of their own. One of those states included New Mexico, and New York lawmakers passed a state budget in the spring that calls for it to spend $7 billion to make child care more affordable over the next 4 years. The legislation will double previous state support for government government subsidies that help families shoulder part or all of their child care costs. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. When you show grace, you see mistakes as lessons, not something to be judged. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with the wonderful comedians Huggy Lowdown, Chris Paul, and social justice activist Coy Malone as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the American Heart Association. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SibylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.